Before you close your eyes tonight, before you set aside the small cares of the day, I'd like to invite you to rest here with me for a little while. Perhaps you've felt it too, that quiet ache beneath the surface of your thoughts, a sense that no matter how hard you try, something inside still whispers that you are falling short. Maybe it comes in the early hours when the world is still and your memories stir. Maybe it finds you in the middle of the day when you compare your life to another's and feel that hollow doubt rising in your chest. I want you to know you are not alone in this. Each of us, whether young or in the evening of our years, carries an inner voice that can be unkind. A voice that says you are not enough. You are too late. You have missed your chance. But tonight, I'd like to share another story, one that begins not with blame, but with the possibility of gentleness. Because your mind, like a garden, is never beyond renewal. And every small, steady choice you make can become a seed of something truer, something kinder, something that finally feels like coming home to yourself. So find a comfortable place. Let your shoulders drop. Breathe slowly. Together, let us walk into this time of reflection and discover how you can free yourself from the old, unhelpful thoughts that have held you back for too long. Let us begin. Part 1. The nature of negative thinking. There is a quiet place within each of us, a hidden corner of the mind that often stirs when the world grows silent. In that stillness, a voice sometimes appears, a voice that does not shout, but whispers with the tone of certainty. You are not enough. Perhaps you have heard it in the small hours of the morning, when the moon is high and the world is wrapped in sleep, or in the afternoon hush, when your thoughts drift to old memories and unspoken regrets. This voice has many disguises. One day, it arrives as a soft suggestion, you will never measure up. Another day, it returns as a grim declaration, you are too old to change. It is in these moments that the seeds of doubt are planted, often without our knowing. Long ago, the Buddha told the story of a farmer whose field was overrun by weeds. Each season, he complained about how nothing good could grow there. He would sigh and say the soil was cursed, that the weeds had always been there and always would be. One day, a monk passed by and sat beside him in the field. The farmer asked, "Why is my land always so unkind?" The monk simply picked up a handful of earth and said, "This land is not unkind. It only grows what is planted and what is left unattended." The farmer blinked, realizing that he had spent more energy lamenting the weeds than removing them. This simple parable points to something we often forget. Our minds are much like that field. When we neglect them, when we believe every stray thought without question, we allow the weeds of negativity to take root and thrive. Perhaps you too have noticed how quickly these weeds can grow. One unkind comment from long ago becomes the vine that wraps around your confidence. A single failure, years behind you, becomes the stone that weighs down your spirit. And before you know it, you start to believe that these are not just passing thoughts, but truths carved into your being. But I invite you gently to pause and ask yourself, who planted these seeds? Who waters them each day? In the Zen tradition, there is an old saying, the mind is an artist. What it draws, it becomes. If you sketch only portraits of fear, your life will come to resemble them. Consider for a moment how you begin your day. Do you awaken with a soft gratitude for simply being alive? Or do you feel the old script unrolling before you? The story that says you are too late to begin anew, too set in your ways to imagine something brighter. It is important to notice this, not with judgment, but with the same gentle curiosity you might offer a child learning to walk. For when we bring awareness to these voices, their hold on us begins to weaken. The Buddha reminded his disciples, "You are what you think. All that you are arises with your thoughts. This is not a command to banish all negativity overnight, but an invitation to see clearly that thoughts are merely passing clouds, not the vast sky itself. So I ask you now, as you sit quietly with these words, when was the first time you believed the voice that said you could not? And more importantly, is it true? The first step in reclaiming your mind is not to declare war on your thoughts, but to recognize them as visitors. Some are helpful, bringing insight and caution. Others are merely echoes of old wounds. You have the right and the responsibility to decide which ones you will allow to stay. As we continue this journey together, remember the farmer and his field. No soil is so barren that it cannot grow something beautiful. No mind is so tangled that it cannot be cleared. In the quiet hours when the old doubts appear, may you have the courage to see them for what they are. Just seeds waiting for your attention or your release. When you are ready, we will walk further into this garden, and I will share with you how to train the mind, not with force, but with steady devotion, the way a gardener tends the land not just in harvest, but every day, especially when no one is watching. Shall we continue? Part 2. Training the mind, a daily commitment. Let us linger a little longer in this garden of the mind, for it is here, among the tender shoots and hidden roots, that the real work begins. You see, it is not enough to merely notice the weeds. One must return, day after day, to pull them out, to loosen the hardened soil, to plant something new in their place. In the time of the Buddha, there was a devoted monk named Ananda, whose mind was like a bright lamp, but often flickered in the winds of doubt. He once approached the Blessed One and confessed, "Lord, I cannot seem to hold my mind steady. One moment, I am filled with faith and clarity. The next, I am overrun by old habits, old fears." The Buddha listened quietly, then spoke with the same calm certainty he always carried. "Yana, the mind is like a young calf, untamed, restless, always running away. You do not chastise it for its nature. You train it with patient, repeated guidance. And so it is with us. It is tempting, especially as the years unfurl behind us, to imagine that discipline is the work of youth, that once past a certain age, our patterns are etched in stone. But nothing could be further from the truth. I have seen people well into their 70s and 80s begin a practice of deliberate thought, and I have watched their lives blossom in ways they never thought possible. One gentleman, a retired carpenter named Samuel, once told me he had spent 4 decades believing he was unworthy of love. It began as a passing thought after his first marriage ended. Over time, he repeated it so often it became an unquestioned fact. In his final years, he began each morning by writing a single line in a small leather-bound notebook. "Today, I am willing to believe I am lovable." This simple sentence, written daily, worked a slow alchemy. He said it felt as though he was watering a seed he had forgotten he had planted. This is the heart of training the mind. It is not a grand gesture performed once, nor an act reserved for special days. It is the quiet devotion you offer yourself every morning when you wake, in the silent moments before the world comes rushing in. It is the choice to begin your day not by absorbing the endless noise of the television or the anxious scroll of the phone, but by tending to the soil within. Some will say they do not have time for such practice, but I invite you to look honestly at how the hours slip through your fingers. There is always time. It is only a matter of what you choose to nurture. Consider the image of the potter shaping clay upon the wheel. The potter does not mold it once and declare the work finished. Each day the hands return, pressing, smoothing, centering. If the clay sags, the potter does not despair. She simply lifts it again. so it is with the mind. You do not train it to become perfect. You train it so that when it inevitably slips, you can return it to its center. In Zen monasteries, monks begin the dawn in meditation, not because they have nothing else to do, but because they understand that without this daily alignment, all other labors are compromised. You might wonder, is it too late for me to build such a practice? But I will tell you a truth that has echoed across centuries. The mind never loses its capacity for renewal. Whether you are 30 or 90, you can begin. In fact, some say the later years are the most fertile, for the distractions of youth have softened, and there is more space for what matters. So perhaps tomorrow when you wake, you might choose a single small action. Maybe you will sit in silence for 5 minutes, breathing gently and repeating a phrase of kindness to yourself. Perhaps you will write a sentence in a notebook, the way Samuel did. Or maybe you will simply step outside and feel the morning air on your skin, reminding yourself that you are still here, still capable of growth. The Buddha taught, what you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create. These are not words to recite once and forget. They are seeds to plant, water, and tend with your own 2 hands. As you reflect on this, ask yourself quietly, what would my days look like if I trained my mind as faithfully as I have cared for others, or tended my home, or pursued my work? What could grow in this garden if I returned to it each morning, not with judgment, but with gentle purpose? When you are ready, we will walk onward together into the deeper shadows of comparison and the ways it can choke the tender shoots of self-acceptance. Part 3. The Illusion of Comparison. And so, dear friend, we step softly now from the quiet of tending the mind into a place where so many hearts grow weary, a place woven from the threads of comparison. This is the place where you stand at the fence of your own life, peering into someone else's garden, believing their blossoms are more fragrant, their soil more rich, their harvest more worthy. It is a place we all visit, sometimes without realizing it, and it can become a prison more binding than any iron chain. In the old Zen stories, there is one I often return to, about 2 monks who set out on a pilgrimage to a distant monastery. One was older, his beard gone silver with the passing of seasons. The other was young, his steps light with the impatience of new ambition. As they walked, the younger monk kept glancing over his shoulder at the elder's footprints. He began to measure his stride against them, trying to match them exactly. With each mile, he grew more frustrated, for no matter how he tried, his footprints never lined up the same way. At last, in exhaustion, he collapsed by the side of the path and cried, "Master, I have failed. My steps will never be as perfect as yours." The elder monk knelt beside him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Why do you believe your path must look like mine? I have walked my road for many years, and you have just begun. Your footprints are meant to be different. In your own life, how often have you felt this ache? The sense that your path should look like someone else's. Perhaps you have watched a friend whose children seemed more successful, or a neighbor whose health seemed more vigorous, and in those moments, you felt a silent verdict against yourself. You looked at what you had built, all those years of trying, and thought it must be smaller, lesser somehow. But I would ask you to pause here and remember, no 2 journeys begin at the same crossroads. No 2 souls carry the same burdens, nor the same gifts. There is a gentle truth the Buddha taught, so simple that we often overlook it. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Yet when you measure your life by someone else's ruler, you deny this birthright. You convince yourself that your worth depends upon an impossible standard, that to be whole you must outshine, outdo, outpace. And so the mind begins its cruel litany. If only I were younger. If only I had started sooner. If only I were more like them. Imagine, if you will, a gardener who plants a seed each morning with care. Each day he waters the earth and tends the soil, but every evening he climbs the fence to gaze into the neighbor's yard. There he sees tall trees and bright blossoms, and he wonders, why doesn't my garden look like that? So he grows impatient. He digs up the soil to see if the roots have sprouted yet. He moves the seed to a different patch. He adds too much water, then too little. In his desperation to catch up to a tree planted decades before, he forgets that the seed in his hand needs only time and steady tending. And so, in his hurry, he kills what was meant to grow. I share this with you not as a rebuke, but as a mirror, held up gently so you might see that comparison is not a harmless habit. It is a thief. It steals your gratitude, your peace, your patience with your own unfolding. How would your days feel if you measured your life only by one question? Am I more at peace today than I was yesterday? One of my teachers once said that in the end, all comparison is like chasing a mirage. You will never reach it, and you will grow parched trying. He encouraged me to look into the mirror and say, with all the sincerity I could muster, I am enough. At first the words felt hollow, almost embarrassing. But over time, they began to settle into my bones, like a soft warmth I had long denied myself. So I ask you now, as you rest in this moment of reflection, what would it be like to live your life without measuring it against anyone else's? Can you imagine the relief of simply walking your own path, at your own pace, trusting that your footprints are exactly where they are meant to fall? When you feel ready, we will take another step forward into the place where decisions are no longer hesitant, but firm, where you learn to choose, once and for all, the life that is waiting for you to claim it. Part 4. The power of decisive commitment. As we stand now at the threshold between comparison and commitment, I invite you to take a slow, steady breath, as though you were preparing to cross a bridge. For this is indeed a crossing, a place where many souls linger, hesitant, caught between the old familiar doubts and the promise of something more truthful. It is here that the question arises, not in a loud voice, but in a tender, persistent whisper. Will you decide? In the time of the Buddha, there lived a young prince named Siddhartha, who stood beneath the spreading branches of the Bodhi tree, weighed down by 1,000 unanswered questions. For years he had wandered from teacher to teacher, sampling their philosophies, hoping someone else's conviction might become his own. But as he sat in the final hours of darkness, he understood that no teaching, no promise, no borrowed certainty could replace one thing: the unshakable decision to remain until he discovered the truth for himself. He did not say, "I will try." He did not whisper, "I will stay if it is easy." Instead he declared, "Though only my skin and sinews remain, I will not rise from this seat until awakening is found." That vow, spoken not with pride, but with the clarity of a heart fully resolved, became the seed of his enlightenment. In your life, you may not be seeking enlightenment beneath a Bodhi tree, but you are seeking something: peace of mind, perhaps, or the quiet faith that you can still grow and change. And yet, how often have you tried to bargain with your own longing? How many times have you said, "I will begin when I feel more ready," or "I will commit when I have more proof it will work"? There is a deep kindness in giving yourself time to prepare, but there is also a hidden cruelty in postponing your own becoming, because you fear that certainty must precede action. In truth, certainty does not come first. It blooms after the first unwavering step. I once sat with a woman named Helen, who had spent her retirement years promising herself she would write her memoirs. Decades of stories raising her children, surviving loss, finding unexpected love, lay quietly in her mind, waiting to be shared. But each year she found a reason to wait: her health, her family obligations, her own perfectionism. One afternoon she said to me, with tears gathering in her eyes, "I'm afraid that if I try and fail, I'll prove that all along I wasn't capable." I held her hand, and we sat in the silence that only truth can create. Then I asked, "What if your only failure is never daring to begin? It is tempting to keep one foot in the familiar, to leave the door ajar, in case you must retreat. But I have learned, as you perhaps have, that indecision is the quietest thief of all. It steals your time, your energy, your trust in yourself. Like a river that never gathers enough force to carve a canyon, a half choice remains shallow, unable to carry you anywhere. There is a Zen proverb that says, "When you walk, just walk. When you sit, just sit. Above all, do not wobble." How often do we wobble, half in and half out of the life that calls us? Perhaps you have felt this, the restless drifting between intention and action, the constant revisiting of the same crossroads. And so I ask you, softly but clearly, what would it look like to choose? To say, not just in words but in your marrow, "This is the path I will walk, no matter how long it takes, or how many times I stumble." Remember, decisive commitment is not a guarantee that the road ahead will be smooth. The Buddha did not find peace because the world grew gentle around him. He found it because he ceased running from himself. When you decide, truly decide, you free yourself from the exhausting question of whether you are worthy of the effort. You simply begin, and in that beginning, you discover that strength does not precede commitment. It grows because of it. So, as we leave this part of our journey and prepare to enter the deeper practice of responding rather than reacting, I invite you to close your eyes, if only for a moment, and place your hand over your heart. Feel the quiet rhythm there, the steady beat that has carried you through every season of your life. Ask yourself, is it time to choose? When you open your eyes again, may you find the courage to step fully into your path, knowing that even the smallest committed action carries more power than the grandest dream deferred. And when you are ready, we will walk together into the next turning, where you will learn how to meet life's provocations, not with reflexive reaction, but with the dignified calm of a mind that knows how to pause. Part 5. From reaction to response. As you stand on this threshold, having resolved, if only in your heart, to commit to your path, we find ourselves in a place that tests every vow we have ever made. For it is one thing to choose, and quite another to remain steady when life presses against you. You may have already discovered this. The world does not always honor your quiet decisions. It will stir the waters just to see if you will drift back into old patterns. And so we come now to the practice of meeting the moment, not with reaction but with response, a skill as subtle as it is transformative. I am reminded of a tale from the Zen tradition about a samurai who came to the old monk Hakuin. The warrior, fierce in reputation and proud in bearing, demanded to know the difference between heaven and hell. Hakuin looked up, his gaze calm as still water, and said, "You are nothing but a brute. Your sword is dull. Your honor is a stain." The samurai's face turned crimson, his hand flying to the hilt of his blade. As he raised it high, trembling with rage, Hakuin met his eye and whispered, "This is hell." In that instant, the warrior understood his reaction, unexamined and instinctual, had chained him to suffering. Slowly he lowered the sword, shame rising in his throat, and with a voice made soft by insight, he asked forgiveness. Hakuin smiled, saying, "And this is heaven." You see, it is never the circumstance itself that binds us, but the reflex with which we meet it. The first impulse to defend, to lash out, to withdraw, often arises before we even know it has happened. Like a spark in dry grass, it can become a fire that scorches our peace. Perhaps you have noticed this in your own life. Someone speaks carelessly, and before you have time to breathe, you are consumed by hurt or anger. An unexpected difficulty appears, and your mind spins into fear. In those moments, reaction feels inevitable, as if you have no choice but to be swept away. But if you look closely, with the gentle curiosity of a monk observing the surface of a pond, you will see that between the stimulus and the action, there is a tiny space, a pause so slender it almost goes unnoticed. That space is where your freedom lives. The Buddha taught that in the sky there is no path. In the heart there is no suffering when clinging ends. He was pointing to this very truth. If you can step back, even for a single breath, you can choose a response that arises not from fear or habit, but from clarity. There was a woman I knew named Eileen, who in her later years carried the burden of a daughter who seldom called, and when she did, spoke only with impatience. Eileen told me that every time the phone rang, her chest would tighten, her thoughts spinning in old stories. "I was never a good enough mother. I have failed." One day, weary of this cycle, she decided to practice pausing. The next time her daughter called and began her usual litany of complaints, Eileen closed her eyes and took a long, deliberate breath before she replied. She imagined she was sitting beneath a vast tree, the roots reaching deep into the earth. When she finally spoke, her voice surprised them both, calm, kind, unhurried. Later she told me, "In that moment, I realized I was no longer a prisoner to the same old reaction." That, she said, was the first true peace she had felt in years. Imagine how your days might change if you gave yourself permission to pause before you spoke, to breathe before you acted, to ask yourself, is this reaction serving the person I am becoming? Even the most ordinary moments become opportunities for liberation when you meet them with awareness. This is not a practice of pretending you feel nothing. Rather, it is the art of acknowledging every feeling without surrendering your power to it. In Zen they say, when the mind is still, the world is still. What would it feel like to sit in the center of your own life, undisturbed by every passing gust of emotion, to meet each disappointment, each small insult, with the dignity of a heart that knows it does not need to react to be real? It is a question worth carrying with you, like a smooth stone in your pocket. And so, as we prepare to move forward into the next part of this journey, the part where you will learn to protect your energy and choose your company wisely, I invite you to practice this pause. When you feel the old reflex stir, close your eyes if you can, or simply place a hand upon your heart. Breathe once, twice, as though the air itself were a balm, and then, with that precious space between feeling and action, respond as the person you most wish to be. When you are ready, we will walk together into that next turning, where you will discover how your environment shapes your mind, and why honoring your own peace sometimes means stepping away from the noise. Part 6. Guarding your energy. As we leave behind the quiet practice of pausing between feeling and action, we enter a new landscape, one that many of us, especially in the later chapters of life, have long underestimated. It is the landscape of the energies around us, the currents that flow from the people we keep close, the conversations we allow, the spaces we inhabit day after day. Even if you have learned to respond with calm when provoked, even if you have cultivated the discipline to pause and choose, you will find it hard to remain steady if you are forever standing in a storm of negativity. The Buddha himself warned that an unwise companion is like a field of thorns. No matter how careful your step, you are cut. Let me share a story of Ajahn Chah, a Thai forest master whose simplicity carried the weight of great clarity. One afternoon, a student came to him, exhausted and troubled. "Teacher," the young man said, "I have tried to keep my mind peaceful, but every time I return to my village, everyone is quarreling. They complain, they gossip, they speak badly of each other. Soon I feel all their bitterness living in my own heart." Ajahn Chah smiled softly. He picked up a glass of water and held it out. "If you drink this water and it is clean, you feel refreshed. But if someone drops poison into it, even a little, what happens?" The student looked down. "It becomes dangerous." Ajahn Chah nodded. "So it is with the company you keep. You cannot drink from a poisoned well and expect to stay healthy." How many times in your own life have you returned home after a conversation and felt a heaviness you could not name? Perhaps it was an old friend who never learned how to celebrate your growth because it reminded them of their own inertia. Perhaps it was a relative who, in every meeting, found a way to diminish your hope, to slip doubt into your heart under the guise of concern. Over time, you may have come to believe it was your duty to stay, to endure their constant draining. But I offer you this gentle truth: no one was born to be an endless reservoir for someone else's unhealed sorrow. Compassion does not mean you must abandon yourself. I remember a woman named Judith who had cared for her ailing sister for many years. When her sister passed, Judith continued to spend time with people whose lives were a revolving door of complaints and small resentments. She felt loyal to them, for they had shared so much history. Yet she confided to me one evening, "I don't know why I'm always tired. Even when I rest, my spirit feels hollow." As we spoke, she began to see that her fatigue was not only of the body, it was the weariness that grows when you are surrounded by those who never lift their own burdens, but expect you to carry them. In Buddhism, there is a term, Kalya Chamita, the noble friend. A noble friend is not someone who flatters or agrees with you at every turn. Rather, they are the person whose presence nourishes your clarity and steadiness. In their company, you remember who you are and who you wish to become. Not everyone we love is a noble friend, and not every noble friend needs to be part of our daily life. But when you find even one, you have discovered a precious refuge. I will not tell you that you must sever every tie that drains you. Life is more tender than that. But I will invite you to look honestly. Which conversations leave you feeling smaller? Which relationships pull you back to the person you have worked so hard to outgrow? Which spaces echo with criticism rather than encouragement? Perhaps it is time to step back, not with bitterness, but with quiet conviction that your energy is a sacred resource. The Buddha taught, you deserve your love as much as anyone. That includes the love of guarding your own well-being. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a clear pond. When you surround yourself with those who cherish growth, the waters remain unclouded. But if you stand too long near those who scorn every effort, who salt the earth around your aspirations, soon you cannot see the bottom of the pond at all. And so you begin to doubt not only your progress, but the very possibility of change. Perhaps you have known the ache of such doubt. If so, I ask you to reflect gently. What would it feel like to choose spaces that replenish rather than deplete you? What would it mean to honor your own peace enough to say, I will not drink this bitterness today? As we move onward, I invite you to carry this question in your heart. For in the next part of our journey, we will explore how to keep going, how to persist with quiet courage when every step feels uncertain, and when life tests whether you will hold to the path you have chosen. And so, when you are ready, we will walk together into the practice of not stopping, even when the road grows long and the outcome remains unseen. Part 7. The discipline to continue. There comes a season in every life when the path grows longer than you ever imagined, when the first bright spark of inspiration begins to fade into the quiet embers of discipline. It is here, when the novelty has worn away and the road stretches on without promise of an immediate reward, that many people turn back. Perhaps you too have stood in that place, a place where your heart whispered, "Maybe I am too tired, too late, too ordinary to keep going." Yet it is precisely in this threshold, this humble span between what is familiar and what is possible, that true transformation roots itself. In the days of the Buddha, there was a monk named Ponna who asked the master for permission to travel to a distant land where the people were known for their hostility. The other disciples were startled. "Why would you go there?" they asked. "You will be ridiculed, perhaps even harmed." But Ponna bowed and said, "If they abuse me, I will think, they are not striking me. If they strike me, I will think, at least they did not use a weapon. If they use a weapon, I will think, at least they did not kill me. If they kill me, I will think, at least my death is pure." The Buddha smiled and told him, "You are ready." For Ponna understood what so many forget. Discipline is not a performance for applause. It is a covenant you keep with your own heart, regardless of what others say or whether the path seems to yield immediate results. Perhaps you have felt the temptation to stop simply because the harvest has not yet appeared. I have sat with many who say, "I have been patient for so long. I have practiced. I have tried to change my thinking, but nothing seems to shift." When I hear this, I remember the story of the Chinese bamboo. In its first year, it is planted and watered, and nothing happens. The second year, the same. The third, the fourth, still no sign above the soil. It is only in the fifth year that a single shoot appears, and then, in a matter of weeks, it grows 80 feet tall. All that time, the roots were working unseen, weaving the strength to support such rapid ascent. How many of us abandon our efforts in the third year, never knowing that our own roots were about to give rise to something beyond imagining? Discipline in its truest form is the willingness to stay when no one is watching, when there is no immediate proof that your devotion matters. It is the quiet courage to keep tending what you cannot yet see. I once knew a man named Walter, who in his late 60s decided he would learn to play the cello. Every morning, he would sit by the window and practice scales. Some days, the notes sounded like nothing more than a lament. His hands ached, and his neighbors sometimes teased, "Why bother at your age?" But Walter would only smile and say, "Because each day I play, I remember that I am alive." After 7 years of slow, humble progress, he performed a simple melody in the community hall. When the last note faded, the applause came, not because he had played perfectly, but because everyone understood they were witnessing the triumph of devotion over doubt. In the end, the discipline to continue is not built on feeling motivated. Feelings are as changeable as the weather. One morning, you will wake with a heart full of purpose. The next, you will feel as though you have gained nothing at all. If you allow those moods to dictate whether you act, you will always be at their mercy. Instead, you must root your commitment deeper than any passing feeling. The Buddha said, "As a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so the wise are not moved by praise or blame." This is the essence of perseverance. an unshakable center that remembers why you began and refuses to betray that beginning. So I ask you, softly and with all the respect due to a fellow traveler, what if you stopped waiting to feel certain before you continued? What if, just for today, you decided that showing up itself was the victory? Even if you only make the smallest progress, reading a few lines of a wise book, pausing to breathe before reacting, practicing gratitude instead of complaint, it is enough. Each time you do this, you are engraving a new story in your mind. I am the one who keeps going. When the day comes that you feel weary, and it will, remember the bamboo, remember Punna, remember Walter at his window, bowing to the dawn with his cello. Remember that there is no shame in feeling tired. The only true sorrow is to let that fatigue convince you that your devotion was ever wasted. And now, as we prepare to take our next step together, we will explore how to rebuild your very sense of self, not merely through effort, but through the quiet revolution of a new identity taking root. When you are ready, we will begin this final turning toward becoming. Part 8. Rebuilding your identity. When we have walked so far together, through the garden of thoughts, across the bridge of commitment, into the steadying discipline of daily action, it is natural to wonder, who am I becoming? This is the question that often arises in the soft hours before dawn, when the world is hushed and your own heart feels raw with all it has tried to carry. It is a question that trembles behind every new habit you attempt, every old pattern you release. And it is here, in this tender, vulnerable space, that the most profound work begins, the rebuilding of your identity. I have met many souls who have spent decades wearing a name that was never truly theirs. A woman called herself the failure because she left a marriage that no longer held love. A man called himself the coward because he did not defend his dreams when he was young. Another the burden because she had been told since childhood that her needs were too much. Over time, these names become masks so familiar that we forget we are wearing them. And when life invites us to change, to step into a new way of being, our first reflex is to cling to the old story, as if it alone could prove we were real. There is an old Zen parable about a man crossing a river in a small boat. Midway across, a sudden storm blew in, tossing the boat against hidden rocks. Panicked, he clutched the shattered hull, refusing to let go, even as it threatened to drag him under. On the distant shore, a monk called out, "Brother, the boat is broken. You must release it to reach the other side." But the man only cried out, "This boat carried me so far. I cannot abandon it now." In the end, it was not the storm that nearly drowned him, but his own refusal to release what no longer served him. How often do we do the same with our identities? We hold fast to the stories of who we have been, stories of shame, regret, limitation, believing that if we let them go, we will drift into emptiness. But what if the opposite is true? What if it is only by loosening our grip on these old definitions that we finally discover the vastness of who we can be? I once sat with a man named Howard, who had always believed himself unworthy of respect. When he was a boy, his father told him he was weak, that he lacked the spine to do anything important. Over time, Howard grew into this prophecy as though it were an inheritance. Even as he built a steady life, raising a family, working with quiet dedication, he never shed the thought that he was somehow lesser. One afternoon, as we spoke about how thoughts shape identity, he put his face in his hands and wept. "I have lived as a ghost of someone I might have been," he whispered. It was the most honest thing he had ever said. But in that moment of sorrow, something beautiful stirred. He lifted his head and said, with the smallest spark of wonder, "Maybe it's not too late." And it wasn't. For the next year, he began a simple practice. Each morning he would look in the mirror and say aloud, "I am worthy of respect because I am here, because I try, because I care." At first the words felt like a foreign language, but as the seasons passed, he began to believe them, not as a grand proclamation, but as a quiet recognition of his own humanity. By the time he turned 70, he told me, "I no longer need to prove anything. I am simply living as the person I wish I had been all along." The Buddha spoke of this when he said, "As irrigators guide water to their fields, as archers aim arrows, as carpenters shape wood, so the wise shape their own minds. You are not sentenced to any identity, you are free to shape it. And each small, consistent action, a kind word to yourself, an act of courage, a moment of stillness, becomes a chisel in your hand." Perhaps you have asked yourself, can I really become someone new after so many years? I will tell you, with all the conviction born of watching so many transformations, yes. Not because you will wake up one morning wholly changed, but because every day you make a small, deliberate choice to act as the person you are becoming. You want to be compassionate. Then let compassion guide your smallest gestures. You want to be brave. Then take one step, however modest, beyond your familiar borders. You want to be free. Then speak to yourself as you would to someone you love, without harshness, without scorn. It does not matter how long you have worn the old mask. It only matters that you dare to set it down. In the Zen tradition they say, "When I let go of who I am, I become what I might be." I invite you to imagine, just for a moment, standing on the threshold of your own life, feeling the cool air on your face, the dawn rising over fields you have not yet walked. Can you see yourself not as the sum of your past mistakes, but as the living possibility of grace, of change, of a quiet strength that has waited patiently for you to claim it? As we come to the close of this part of our journey, I ask you one final question to carry gently. What identity are you ready to outgrow? And what new story will you begin to write with the days you have been given? And so, dear friend, with this reflection resting in your heart, may you step forward into your life, not as who you have been told you are, but as who you choose each day to become. As we reach the quiet edge of this journey together, I invite you to sit back for a moment, to feel the simple miracle that you are still here, breathing, listening, capable of change no matter how many seasons have come and gone. Perhaps the greatest gift you can offer yourself is not a promise to become perfect, but the gentle permission to begin again. Every dawn is an unwritten page. Every breath is an opportunity to release what no longer serves you and to plant a new intention in the soft soil of your heart. May you walk forward from here with a lighter step, carrying the knowing that you are not defined by your mistakes, nor limited by your fears. You are defined by the quiet, steadfast choice to keep growing, to keep tending the garden of your mind with patience and love. And if ever you doubt, remember this: the strength you seek is already within you, waiting only for your tenderness to awaken it. May you be well. May you be peaceful. May you be free.